You assaulted the sheriff, the deputy said, blinking in disbelief. Lisa snorted and jabbed a finger at the video on her phone. No, I assaulted this guy. The deputy's jaw tightened. That's the sheriff or his twin brother. Same blood, same badge. You just dragged the wrong porch lounger into a mess. That was the moment Lisa Hartwell's HOA reign started to unravel. Because the man she'd yanked off his porch wasn't just some random retiree, was tied to the law in this town. And Lisa had just stirred up a storm. It all began the way every overzealous HOA tale does, with a clipboard, a cup of sour herbal tea, and an unshakable belief that power can be self-made. Lisa Hartwell had moved into Pine Hollow 3 years earlier, and the neighborhood hadn't had a quiet day since. She muscled her way onto the HOA board by loudly complaining about the chaos of it all. Once in, she crowned herself leader of a brand new HOA standard squad. She had badges made. She snagged a used golf cart and slapped flashing amber lights on it. Every morning at 6:30 sharp, Lisa rolled out like a suburban enforcer, hunting for trash cans left out too long or bird feeders slightly askew. Kids dubbed her the vulture. Adults had harsher names. But Lisa fed off the friction. She didn't just issue fines, she delivered them with smug speeches and piercing glares. She once slapped a guy with a $90 fine for a Halloween skeleton she deemed too frightening for kids. She outlawed wind chimes, claiming they messed with migrating birds. She even lectured an old lady for letting her cat prowl menacingly. Then came Jack Larson. Jack was new to Pine Hollow, arriving 6 months earlier to live near his brother, the county's top sheriff. But Jack kept that quiet. He wasn't flashy, a soft-spoken man in his late 50s who liked sipping iced tea on his porch with his golden retriever, Max. Unlike his twin, Sheriff Dan Larson, Jack had no use for badges or attention. After retiring from the military, he just wanted to watch the sky and grill on weekends. To Lisa, though, that porch was a crime scene. The rocking chair clashed with the HOA's color rules. The dog bowls sat in plain sight. Worst of all, Jack waved at folks without being on the neighbor greeting committee. She had a dossier on him in days. Lisa made her move one Tuesday morning. Jack was on his porch in cargo shorts and a vet cap, humming softly, Max dozing nearby. Lisa's golf cart screeched to a stop. She strode up like she was raiding a hideout. Sir, she started, scribbling furiously. Your violating Section 12B. Porch aesthetics and unauthorized changes. Jack peered over his sunglasses. Ha! Your chair's unpainted, the porch lights mismatched, and that dog bowl's blocking the VYEW, she snapped. Jack raised an eyebrow. You're kidding, right? Lisa edged closer, tapping the rail with her pen. Dead serious. Fix it in 24 hours or it goes to the standard squad. Thought you were the squad, he said dryly. I am, she replied with a creepy grin. Most folks would have argued. Jack just chuckled, sipped his tea, and said, have fun with that. Then he leaned back. Lisa wasn't used to being brushed off. The next day, a violation notice was taped to his door. Then came a certified letter threatening daily fines. When that flopped, she called in reinforcements, and that's when it hit the fan. Saturday morning, Jack was back on his porch, same tea, same chair, same calm VYB. Lisa rolled up with her nephew, Brandon, a wiry 20-something in mirrored shades and a thrift store security vest. Brandon was the type who binged cop shows and thought a flashlight made him tough. They approached like they were serving a warrant. Sir, Lisa said, flipping her clipboard, you've ignored multiple warnings. We're escalating to corrective measures. Jack blinked. Meaning what? Meaning, Brandon puffed up, we need you off the porch so we can remove the non-compliant stuff. Good luck MOVing it, Jack said with a lazy smirk. Lisa lunged for the chair's arm. That's when it all froze. Jack stood not tall but with a steady, soldier-like calm that made Brandon flinch. Lisa, too stubborn to back off, grabbed Jack's arm. She yelled about citizen enforcement, tugging him until she tripped. In the chaos, Jack stumbled onto the lawn, Brandon freaked out like he was making an arrest, and Max barked like crazy. Lisa dialed 911, shrieking that a rogue resident was attacking her. When deputies arrived expecting a brawl, they found Lisa waving her phone triumphantly. I've got it all recorded. This guy assaulted me after repeated violations. The deputy watched the clip, glanced at Jack, then did a double take. Ma'am, he said slowly, do you know who this is? Lisa squinted. He's a porch hog, a rule breaker. I've tracked him for weeks. No, ma'am, the deputy said flatly. That's Sheriff Dan Larson's twin. Lisa cackled. The sheriff's got a buzz cut. This guy's just his look-alike. Exactly, the deputy shot back. You just manhandled a retired federal officer. You're in deep. Lisa's smugness soured fast. Jack brushed off his shorts. Tried to warn you. Max barked once as if nodding. Lisa stood there, clipboard suddenly heavy. Brandon paled. The deputy radioed in. And just like that, Lisa's grip on power slipped away. Dragging someone off a porch is one thing, dragging the sheriff's brother? That's a blunder you don't recover from. Sheriff Dan Larson didn't usually sweat petty neighborhood spats. Years in law enforcement taught him most dust-ups were about grass clippings or loud dogs. But when his phone blew up with texts, voicemails, and a viral video of what looked like him being hauled off a porch by a wannabe cop duo, he knew something was wrong. It took 3 replays to realize it was Jack, not him, and that made it personal. By the time Dan rolled into Pine Hollow, lights flashing, his usual grin was gone. Neighbors peeked from porches or hid behind shrubs. Lisa's golf cart, marked HOA Patrol, sat in her driveway, lights spinning like it was a fortress. Lisa strutted out, beaming. Sheriff Larson. Glad you're here. We've had an issue with your kin. Dan stared at her, sizing her up, then glanced at Jack, arms crossed. Max at his feet, cool as ever. Dan exhaled sharply. Do you know who you pulled off his porch today? Lisa tilted her head, still smiling. A resident under HOA rules. He ignored citations, got aggressive when we stepped in. I've got video. Dan's brow twitched. You mean the clip-going viral of you and your nephew yanking a vet off his own land? Lisa bristled. The HOA approved enforcement. I've got bylaws printed if you want them. Dan stepped closer, her smile fading. Let me break it down. That's my broth-era decorated vet. He owns that house, pays taxes, and your HOA has zero legal power to touch or detain anyone on private property. You're lucky he didn't press charges yet. Lisa folded her arms. He was warned. That porch broke multiple aesthetic codes. Aesthetic codes? Dan echoed. Yeah, she said firmly. The chair's an eyesore and the dog bowls clutter. Dan went silent, then asked Lisa, do you have any law enforcement training? A security license? Any right to enforce beyond a nasty note? She faltered. The HOA voted. Not the HOA. You. Do you have authority to grab someone? Her mouth flapped shut. If not, Dan said, you've committed assault, impersonation, and trespassing. All of it. Brandon slunk out, clutching his vest like it burned. I didn't touch anyone, sir, he mumbled. Dan didn't blink. I've seen the tape, kid. Save it. Lisa's confidence cracked. Sheriff, this feels personal. Dan leaned in. No, Lisa, this is me doing my job. If it were personal, you'd be in cuffs. She tried to rally. The HOA should handle this internally. Dan smirked. You don't call the shots. You assaulted someone while playing cop. That's criminal, and I'm investigating your whole operation. Within a day, complaints flooded in. An old couple said Lisa fined them for overly floral curtains. A mom reported Lisa scolding her kid for chalk drawings, calling it graffiti bait. A guy showed citations for repainting his fence 3 times because the sun shifted the hue. Then came the HOA budget whispers. Where were the dues going? No new speed bumps, no promised lights, yet Lisa had a shiny golf cart with a siren. A budget audit revealed sketchy deals, contracts to her cousin's unlicensed landscaping firm, odd compliance bonuses. It wasn't just Jack and Marie, it was Lisa's whole empire. Jack stayed quiet. He dodged reporters, waved off apologies, and rocked on his porch with Max. But when a class action lawsuit brewed, his name led the list. Dan ensured it was ironclad and public. Lisa got served while measuring a mailbox flag. Her face crumpled as she read the charges and lawsuit from a dozen neighbors. She fired back with an email, claiming targeted harassment by Jack and Dan, but old threats like banning unapproved mulch buried her. Lawn signs popped up. Porch rights matter. T-shirts featured Jack's chair. Pine Hollow United. At the next HOA meeting, the community center overflowed. Lisa stood up front, clutching her binder, golf cart lights still flashing outside. Let's start, she said, voice tight. There's been misinformation about my enforcement. I'll clear it up. A cough from the back muttered, dictator. Sparking laughs. She pressed on. All citations were valid. The standard squad followed bylaws. Any upset is from rule dodgers. She glared at Jack, seated mid-room, cap on, unfazed. Dan stood beside him, stoic. Mrs. Rivera, a 70-year-old widow, stood with papers. Lisa gave me 8 citations in a month, one for my 2 festive yard gnome. Lisa flushed. I warned you about VY soul clutter. You threatened my HOA rights. Rivera shot back. Dan stepped up. I've re-VYE'd 6 months of HOA actions. It's harassment, overreach, and maybe illegal. Lisa scoffed. Illegal? You're mad about your brother's chair. No, Dan said. You assaulted a man, faked authority, and misused funds. That's law, not feelings. Jack rose. I came here for quiet. I've seen power abused overseas, didn't expect it on my porch. The room clapped. Lisa's mic cut out. A board member, Greg, stood. We've got 30 complaints. Verified budget scam, your cousin's fake landscaping, unapproved gear like your body cam. The crowd turned. Then a silver-haired woman rose, Judge Clara Benton, a 4-year resident. I've seen the VY Deo, the fines, the books. This isn't just wrong, it's illegal. I'm MOVYing to disband the standard squad and remove you, Lisa, now. Chaos erupted, cheers, shouts. Ballots were printed. Lisa stormed out, her cart's lights dying as she left. She didn't return. Charges hit: assault, impersonation, fraud. Media swarmed. Jack swapped his chair for a loud red porch throne and hung a sign, Sheriff's twin, don't try it. Dan joined him one day with tea. You earned this, he said. Jack grinned. Feels like I fought for peace. The HOA restructured, axed the squad, and offered Jack free dues and a veteran's donation. He and Dan later turned an empty lot into Lisa's last stand dog park, a neighborhood gem born from her flop. Lisa lost in court, moved away, and Pine Hollow breath-free, laughing over the tale of the porch that toppled a tyrant.